Welcome to the struggle with Candice Thompson. My struggle is just my podcast in general and getting through the intros without Mal laughing at me.
Way to ease into it. If for those of you guys watching, Candice was like, "Okay, I'm gonna hit record," and then she hit record, and then immediately, "Hey guys!" Like, chill, Candice.
I'm so excited. My skills of just like performing are just waiting.
Yeah.
Day. I'm just clinging on by a thread. I forget how to do everything anymore.
We're all in the same boat.
No, I know it's trash. Anyway,
I don't know. I'm still really good at stand-up, so.
Troy, wait till you're introduced to speak.
Okay. Oh, right.
He's already so insubordinate. You know what? Fuck it. You guys, I don't feel like saying the whole intro.
Hey, welcome to the struggle with Candice Thompson. This is a podcast that Candice does where she has her friends and comedians on to discuss their problems because, as we know, life is trash. So thank you if you're a returning listener. If you're a returning listener, make sure you tell a friend to subscribe. We're on all podcast platforms. If you're brand new, welcome. Hopefully you stay for an episode or two. You can find me at jokesbycandice.com and Jokes by Candice on all social media at CandiceThompson.com and Jokes by Candice on all social media. Now let me introduce my co-host. This is Mal Hall. Go ahead, Candice.
Hey everybody. You can follow me at, what is it, Mal Hall Comedy?
Malhall.com.
Malhall.com for my shows that I'm not doing right now, but I'm making food on Instagram and YouTube. If you want to follow me there, I make pasta and I cook stuff good.
Thank you, Mal. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our guest. He's a good friend of mine. Give it up. I don't know your intro, Troy, so I don't know how to.
With Troy Walker, everybody, is joining us today. Also, a lot of you don't know that he's a comedian, he's a lawyer, and he is also Joe Biden's campaign manager. So welcome.
I am Joe Biden's campaign manager. We're doing great. I think my favorite part of that intro was where you started to say, "Welcome to the Candice Show," and it almost sounded like it was going to be like, none of us are real. We're all just personalities in our head. No, this has actually happened.
We're just three characters that Candice is playing all of us. Welcome to the Candice Show.
This is like the Clumps.
Yeah.
Nutty Professor, Candice Murphy. As
Yeah.
Mal, as Troy. Well, it was kind of, last week we had Ron G on, and it did kind of turn into the Candice Show. Spent the whole time talking about my problems.
Yeah.
I can relate.
Troy, you love me. Where can people find you on social media?
I'm at Troy Walker ESQ. It's supposed to be Esquire, but I don't work for Esquire magazine. I just happen to be a person who was dumb enough to go to law school.
All right.
You were them smart yard niggas, huh?
I'm a smarty artist nigga. I'm so smart, I went the other way. I went all the way back around to being dumb. Pursue comedy.
Let me try out being dumb. That's how smart he is. He wanted to try.
Well, I was doing comedy first. Now I got this law degree all in the way and shit.
Wait, did you really start doing comedy and then went to law school?
Oh, yeah. I started when I was 21. I've been doing comedy like 13 years.
Wow.
I went to law school after, huh?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. You thought I started after? Man, you thought I was really good at comedy.
Hilarious.
What kind of law?
In a very short amount of time. Huh?
What kind of law did you study?
You just kind of get a law degree. But
okay. So it's not specific.
No. You know, like, I mean, you more, like, you can take, like, a bunch of classes that kind of cover a particular area, and then you can do your internships in that area and then go practice in that area, but where you really specialize is once you start to practice.
Gotcha.
All my internships were in like DA's offices, but I didn't do many of them. But I liked like the courtroom and stuff. So if I was gonna do it, I would have done that.
On the DA side, though, you like being on the prosecution.
I mean, yeah, actually, I kind of like that part. Being defense is like hard.
Yeah,
It seems hard.
yeah.
Defense is like just because, and part of it was like during my internships, I saw stuff where I was like, I don't think I could do the defense side.
Yeah.
You know, 'cause I was in the gang unit at the Denver DA's office, so I just watched murder trials and shit like that, and then like I was down, like I did like a short one, because honestly, like my internships were very much afterthoughts. They were like things where I was like, oh shit, I need to do this to graduate. I was just doing comedy.
Yeah.
So, you know, like I went down to New Mexico on like a short one, and I was in a DA's office down there, and it was like, I was at a sentencing hearing. I was really fucked up once, and it was like kind of one of those things where you're just sort of like, I don't think I can.
Yeah.
I don't think I can be on the other side of this.
Yeah.
Right. How do you defend somebody that you know is guilty? Like, how do you sleep with yourself at night?
Well, I mean, because, you know, it's one of those things where I'm 100% for it, like, in the sense that, like, everybody deserves a defense, and the state should have to convict you. It shouldn't be the case where, like, you know, oh, you did it, and therefore they get to just put you in jail. Like, they should have to
Prove it.
convict you. They should have to prove it to the jury. They should have to collect.
Of course, but how do you fight for that person? If
That's the hard part.
Something heinous.
Yeah.
Because I think that's how you would rationalize it. Is you would go, well, really, it's not about them. It's about sort of an institutional thing where you're up, like, in defending them. What you're really doing is checking the state, because if this person doesn't have an adequate defense, then it's easier for, you know, the state to railroad people, even innocent people. Like, it keeps them honest about their process, and it keeps, you know, police honest about what they do.
Yeah.
Obviously, it doesn't do that as good a job of that as, you know, we'd like. But at the same time, imagine how bad it would be if you didn't have a situation where you threw out evidence that was improperly gathered, where you threw out confessions that were improperly gained.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I want everyone to know that Troy's skills are why I contacted him earlier this week. His legal skills, but also his hood skills, because he grew up in the hood of Denver. A lot of people don't know there's a hood in Denver.
Oh, there was a real hood in Denver. I mean, there still is. It just moved because of, you know,
way down Colfax.
She got nice downtown, and all the hood had to move out.
they pushed the hood east Colfax, way down Colfax.
Way out Colfax, Aurora, Montello, like that's what. But like when I was a kid, like the hood was east side Denver.
Gotcha. The old hood now is a Starbucks.
Yeah.
Oh, the old hood now is like, I mean,
it's a pet spot.
It's the property value is like is hilarious.
Yeah.
Considering, like, I remember when you couldn't get a pizza, they wouldn't deliver.
Jeez.
Not because it was outside of their parameters. It was because they're just trying not to get shot.
Oh, they were just like, we don't go that way.
Yeah. What are you talking about? You're next door to me. Yeah, we don't.
There was this place I called once when I was maybe was like 5th grade or 6th or something. My mom said I could order food so I call this Italian place, and I try to order, and this place is literally on Colfax, which you could walk to from my house in probably 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So by car, it's like 5, maybe.
Right.
And they were like, "Oh, we don't deliver over there."
Jeez.
I can hit your building.
He literally said, he was like, "Oh, it's kind of a," he was like, "It's kind of a bad news area."
Thank you, sir. I live here.
Like, yeah, I know that.
That's why I'm not going outside, nigga. Now bring me some food.
To pick up the pizza, all right? To bring it to me.
You don't understand. I've been socially distant for a long time. You go, put that down. Put that down where you are and back away.
So how did Troy help you this week?
So interesting enough, I was sitting on my couch right over there, and there's my window right there, so I can see right out to the street. And I'm like on my computer, and I just see somebody dash across my front lawn, which I was like, that was either a kid or a crackhead. Like, I don't know who runs across your lawn, like in front of the window. Like, there's a sidewalk right there.
Yeah.
So first, I was like, why are they on my lawn? What was it? And so I kept working, and I just heard a conversation happening right outside this window right here, my living room window, which I thought was that person, but talking to somebody else. I was like, oh, they probably are going to visit somebody who lives right next door, or they live there and they're just whatever, having a conversation. So then I let the conversation happen for 10 minutes, and then I started actually listening to what was being said, and I was like, okay, I think that person is having a conversation with themselves.
Yeah, I only hear one voice.
Yeah, this is a one-person conversation that's happening. So then I go to my living room window, and I look down, and I see there's a woman sitting on the ground in my driveway. Yeah, that was me. Getting ready to snitch on somebody. I was like, oh, I see why people snitch. I get it. I know it's frowned upon, but I get it. All right. So I'm looking out the window.
Aaron Thompson.
So I'm looking out the window, and I see her on the ground, and she's full on conversation with herself. But then she pulls out, and there's stuff scattered, very crackhead-like, scattered around her stuff. And she pulls out a mirror, like a circular mirror about this big. And then I was like, I know she's not about to do what I think she's about to do. I see some white stuff come out, and she puts it on the mirror, and then she takes the bottom. She had some bottle, and she takes the bottom of the bottle and starts smashing it up on the mirror. And I was like, this bitch is about to do drugs right in my driveway. Watching it, I actually have video footage, but it's terrible footage because it's screened from my windows.
She didn't even invite me. That's just rude.
I'm like, is that organic? I'm out the window. Is that vegan organic? So I'm like, I don't know. First thing that goes through my head is I don't want to call the cops on this lady because she's not a white woman. She's a woman of color. She's not black, but she looked like she could have been Asian, like Filipina or maybe Mexican. I couldn't tell. But I was like, I don't like calling the cops on people in general. But if she was white, I would have done it in a heartbeat. Because that does not happen enough. All right.
It's funny that you just list all these ethnicities, and you're like, I couldn't tell what they were. I didn't notice they were brown, though. Obviously, the rest of them they all look the same to me. I noticed that she was brown.
Yeah, she definitely wasn't black. I do know that. But so I was like, oh, I'm torn. So let me get some legal counsel.
Connecticut liberal Candice Thompson.
It's true.
What do I do?
I said, I don't know, nigga. Did you ask her to leave? In my considered legal opinion.
And I was like, I did have that thought myself, but my only concern with that was she's on drugs and she's crazy because she's talking to herself. Is I didn't want to start something. I didn't want her to be outside now throwing stuff at my place or breaking my windows or whatever. So I was like, I want to keep this as low key as possible, and I would like to not involve myself at all if possible.
Right.
Or it was like, yeah, you're probably gonna just have to say something to her because there was no. I call the cops on her, or I say something to her.
Or you just let her peacefully do her drugs and have the conversation with herself.
But for how long? How long was that going to be, Mal?
Who knows what they were talking about? That could have been.
she was talking about, and it did not sound like it was going to be resolved. So I was like, I talked to Troy, and he was like, yeah, you just gonna have to go say something. So I was like, fuck. I went out my laundry room door, which exits to the driveway. So I opened up the door, and I was just like, you don't have to leave. And she was like, I don't have to leave. And I was like, yes, you do. And she was like, no, I don't. You can call the cops. And I said, okay. I just closed the door because that's all I needed now was permission.
Right.
She said it was okay. I was like, now I don't feel so bad. This bitch told me to call the cops.
Yeah.
And like the Grinch, Candice's hair went 3 shades blonder.
This was a Karen Christmas. It surely was.
This entire thing, I was like, noticing. First of all, you go, oh, I noticed she was some ethnicity. I don't know what it was. Anyway, so I proceed through my living room, past my laundry room, and open up my door to my backyard driveway, where this brown person is doing. And I asked her to leave. And she said no. And I said, well, I'll call the police then.
Yeah.
I've given you your warning. I tried to be nice to you. I don't know what it is with you people.
As soon as I finish my clementine sorbet, I will be calling the cops.
Just having to deal with this situation, my vegan ice cream has started to melt.
Yeah.
First of all, that sounded delicious. Clementine sorbet, if that's not a thing, I need someone to get on it.
I'm so steamed, my sorbet is melting.
You're lucky that my in-home washer and dryer recently stopped. Otherwise, I wouldn't have even known you were here.
That's funny. So did the
Everybody
cops?
else lives in a box in this city, Candice.
I hate both of you.
Did the cops come?
So as soon as I said that, I went back, closed the door, came back inside, and immediately started dialing 911. And I looked out the window. I was like, let me see if she's packing up her stuff. And she was.
Yeah.
She was grabbing all her shit, putting it in her purse, still cursing and screaming and stuff. And so I was on the phone with them. It was ringing. And by the time I got connected to a live person, she was already did the crackhead shuffle across the street, and she was like on her way. And then I told Troy, and he was like, yep, typical crackhead bluff. He was like, she had no intention of staying there, and she didn't think you were gonna. I'm like, why wouldn't I call the cops?
Yeah.
So yeah, she was gone, and it was right before I was about to go for my stroll around the neighborhood. I was very I almost didn't even take my walk because I was so frazzled by what had happened. I was like, should I bring my gun? I don't know. If I feel threatened right now by this woman, by this brown woman.
I put on my.
Ask the policeman if he'll drive alongside me as I stroll.
I put on my red Lululemon pants because I was mad.
Bro, I literally called her after and I was like, are you still going on that walk? And she goes, putting on my leggings as we speak.
They were not Lululemon. Those were in my laundry room wash.
Yeah. Lupita is going to be bringing those from the Fluff and Fold later.
She's like, and if she has time, maybe she can load the dishwasher.
Oh.
I forgot to tell you, I hired that woman now. She's part of my help. She's out there trimming the shrubs as we speak.
I pay her in cocaine. It is Los Angeles. Yeah, your crackhead experience is way better. I told you about my crackhead experience, right?
Oh, yes. I don't know if you... I don't think you told it on my podcast, but if you want to tell it now, please feel free. I think Mal would also enjoy that.
Well, when I was a child, when I was a boy, a lad.
In Denver. Stress, this is in Denver.
All right.
In Denver, Colorado. So I'm like 10 or 11 or whatever, and we've been out of town for 2 weeks visiting my grandmother in Arkansas. And back crackheads they would case your house. They'd go and check and the paper that came every week pile up or whatever, that kind of shit.
Yeah.
And so we get home, and my mom's upstairs in her room watching TV, and I'm sitting down there watching TV, and downstairs, and the house is the old house. The house is from the 1890s, old Victorian, and so the house always made noise. My entire life, the house made noise. It's just what it did.
Yeah.
And what is Candice doing?
What does it look like I'm doing?
It looks like you're on Twitter, nigga. I'm kidding.
Would you just keep going with the story?
All right, so the house, the old house, it always made noise my entire life. Additionally, we had a problem where basement windows had broken out, and we would sometimes get a stray cat or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting there and watching TV, and I see a shadow kind of come up the basement stairs. I hear all these knocks and things like that, and I see this shadow come up the stairs and then go back down. And I think there's an animal that got it. So I go to try to scare this animal away. Crackhead hiding by the furnace. Right?
How old are you?
I was 10 or 11.
Oh my God.
And so then the crackhead, we use the basement for storage, right?
Yeah.
And the crackhead comes out from behind the furnace, breathing all hard, eyes red. He's like, "This is my house," and then grabs this tackle box and swings it at my head. I duck, I turn, I run up the stairs all the way up. This is when a crackhead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, by the way, I want to point out, I could have gone to the league because I outran a crackhead. If I'd wanted to, I could have been in the league. So I get up there, and then I tell my mom, she was on the phone with my brother. We push a dresser in front of the door. My brother grabs his gun, drives over, because he lives close by, floors it over, kicks in the front door. It's the whole thing.
Wow.
Crackhead was wrong. So he, there was no, he was not able to, catch.
That's wild. Candice, we got the light already.
I know. Wait.
What did you want to talk about?
I thought it was an hour-long thing.
No, I need to upgrade my Zoom. You never thought I was a nigga before. Now you do.
Now I think. No.
You should just do it.
White people get rich. How rich white people stay rich, Candice? They don't spend money.
So this is the greatest thing I can do is just keep the money for myself.
We're like, well, I have to pay my staff. I don't have time to
Yeah.
long term on the internet with you shiftless Negroes.
You should just do it in 2 pieces, Candice.
In 2 pieces.
Just end this, so it'll be a little bit
time?
longer than 40 minutes, and just put them together.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess I'll just have to, I won't handle that. I have to, the engineer Paul does all that shit, so I'll just go tell him.
Don't talk science at Candy.
Yeah, I can do that. Okay, so let's talk about Mal. Wait, first of all, Mal, have you had any crackhead experiences? I don't know, because this was, I think, my first actual full-on face-to-face conversation with the crackhead.
Candice, I don't know what you know about me, but I try to avoid situations where crackheads would even be an option. So I haven't dealt with any crackheads in my life.
Well,
Unfortunately.
That's like a box you check on the black list.
Oh yeah, that's how I need to get my black card certified by encountering a crackhead.
It's like when you go to Subway and they give you one of the things and they stamp
Yeah.
It's like one of the things.
Wait, so what do you get if you have all your stamps?
Diabetes. This
You're an actual black person now. Let me amputate your foot.
Yeah.
I don't know what you get. You get to be president.
You get a grill.
you get a grill.
No, I did want to. Troy and I have had some conversations this past week, maybe even last week. I don't remember. But so a lot of people, this video went viral. There was a woman who came out with this video that was titled "Deming." That was basically a conspiracy theory that the COVID pandemic that is happening right now it's on purpose. Like, it's not an accident. Like, it's the government and it's the pharmaceutical companies who all just want to profit off of making vaccines. They get everybody sick and then push a vaccine so that they can make money. So there's a scientist woman who allegedly she's a whistleblower. She's kind of like the Edward Snowden of the science world, where she is basically, her whole career has been, and I don't know, I've never heard this woman before this video, so I don't know really, but according to her and this guy that's interviewing her, her whole career has been taken from her because she's been basically ratting on scientists in the science world for years. And so she's just out here now, like, saying, fuck it, I'm gonna let everybody know the real truth since I don't have anything to lose, right?
Yeah.
So that's what this video is. And so I sent it to Troy. I sent it to both of you, but it's been taken down. Like, it kept going up and then they would take it down, like, immediately, which the fact that I'm not a conspiracy theorist by any means. Like, there's nothing that I've heard that I'm like 100, besides the fact that 9/11 was an inside job.
And we never landed on the moon. Just those things.
Just those things. You know, Bigfoot was the real president. You know, just the normal stuff everyone knows.
You know.
The Earth is completely flat.
Elvis was an alien, you know.
JFK and Tupac own an island. Everybody knows. Everybody knows.
Yeah.
That Caitlyn Jenner became a woman so that she wouldn't have to get charged with murdering that person in that car. Remember that?
And now Candice is canceled.
So anyway, like, I love watching conspiracy theory stuff, and there's nothing that I'm going to die on any hill for, but I entertain it, and I think that there's bits and pieces of certain things that, for me, it's like, yeah, I could see that happening. I have no, empirical evidence that is, but I could see, like, the government is trash. Like, I could totally see them killing people for profit. Like, that's kind of their jam. So anyway, so Troy, what you sent me a thing that was debunking the video, an article debunking it, which is what you read. You didn't actually watch the video. Again,
like I said, I'm not. I wouldn't have just, if you're gonna name something a pun, I'm not gonna take it fucking serious.
You mean pandemic? You're not taking that seriously?
Oh, fucking the most base level of comedy. I'm gonna take that super serious.
These are scientists, not comedians. Okay.
But my whole point is that, like, this is my whole thing about that lady, and this is my whole thing about all of that shit. Is like, I'm all about critical thinking. I'm 100% about it. That's all I ask of anybody. And I think the thing that bothers me about shit like that is that people go, I don't trust the government. And then some lady pops up on YouTube and people go,
Yeah.
That's her. They don't know shit about her. They don't know anything about her backstory. They don't know anything. So, like, they'll assume all of these, like, oh, there's all these ulterior motives about all of these other people that they don't like. And then they'll take 100% anybody who says anything against that. And I just think it's just generally based in critical thinking. I just don't. Yeah.
People love, Americans especially, love confirmation bias. If I can find someone that agrees with my crazy point of view, then I must be right, because they believe it too.
Yeah.
And
they're on the internet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they have a website. They have a Facebook group. It's like,
that crackhead that was there was saying the same shit. And I was like, you right, I've been saying this. The pandemic is all a conspiracy to get us all sick so they can profit.
Yeah.
He's like, I didn't want to do cocaine. The government made me do it. My thing is shit like it's that, and it's also that like it's like even what you just said, where you go, well, the government. I mean, the government. Our government's trash, and I would totally believe. Which, don't get me wrong, I've never hated anyone as much as Donald Trump. You can't name someone I wouldn't vote for over him. I think,
right.
but that's part of why I think I'm like I don't really buy it in part because of that. Because you're basically saying, well, I think they could competently execute a nefarious plan to get us all like,
Yeah.
no way they would competently get that done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you find out if Donald Trump shits his pants, that leaks. like
Pun intended.
It's just the amount of things that would have to go completely right for that to be true are the things that make me go, that ain't what happened.
Do you guys feel like I don't know. On walks, I've caught myself thinking like it is feasible that this is not a thing that our government created, because like Troy was saying, I can't imagine like Trump is not, and his henchmen are not smart enough to pull off something of this magnitude.
I disagree.
It does feel like it could be a weapon from somewhere else where they're like, look this guy's in charge. It's an election year. We could cripple this country if we just sent this.
Absolutely. But I also, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I kind of conduct my life with a few philosophical razors in mind. Me and Candice were talking about this. Basically, whatever can go wrong will go wrong. I think that's almost always true. And that you should never attribute to malice what you can attribute to stupidity. And I think that is constantly borne out. Constantly 100%. The simplest explanation is usually the right one.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's not always, but usually it is. Just because I mean, that's just how life is. Like,
and I was going to say, I agree with that to an extent, but when you put wealthy white people in power, I'm going to go ahead and say that evil takes over in a lot of these situations where you were saying Trump, you don't think that he's smart enough, Trump and his henchmen. I was like, I disagree. I don't think Trump is smart at all, but I do think that he has intelligent people around him who are also evil. So,
well, but look at it like this. What have they executed well since he's been in control of the federal government? What have they executed well?
Well, if they release this COVID, then I would say he's an example of something they executed well.
But even that, you go, okay, well, he would probably like to get reelected.
Yeah.
Probably not good to have the entire economy crash and everybody gets sick.
Probably not good to have half of your followers dying from this disease.
Probably not ideal to do. Like, I guess that's what like, and I think like that's kind of, it's not that I think they're telling us the truth all the time. I don't think they're telling. I think they're constantly lying. But part of the reason for that is I think they're constantly lying because they got shit.
Yeah.
They have nothing else.
I don't need to like come up with a whole thing for this. Like, this shit fucking happens, man.
Yeah.
Like it's not like this is the first pandemic that's ever happened. There've been like dozens and dozens.
Right, which then begs the question: were those other ones pandemics as well?
This is a good example. Bubonic plague. Bubonic fucking plague kills millions and millions and millions of people around the world.
Yeah.
Now, two things can be true. That could have actually just arisen as natural phenomenon, right?
Yes.
And the Catholic Church, in an interest of holding on to its own power, told people shit that wasn't true that made it worse.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that like two things can be true. I just like it's my thing about it is I think that a lot. I don't see a lot of difference between. I think a lot of people like conspiracies because they find them fun.
Yeah.
And it's not a thing where I think, oh, they always, again, they don't tell us the truth. I don't think they're telling us the truth most of the time.
Right. You just don't necessarily think that there's malice attached to.
I think that
their lying is reactionary, whereas you know what I'm saying?
I think malice implies competence in a way that I don't ascribe to, because I just don't think people generally are that capable. Think about how you generally live your life. Everybody's just lurching from one fucking fire to another, just trying to make, like, I disagree.
I disagree with the people in charge. I think they have a plan. I think they do. They're up there thinking of maniacal ways to keep their money, and I don't.
But I don't think you have to be maniacal to keep your money when you're in power. Like what? Like
no, you don't, and that's why they're evil. Is because they don't. They could just live their lives being wealthy, but instead they're like, how can I oppress more people? How can I make other people's lives so much worse?
My whole point is like, in a way, you just contradicted yourself. Like you go, I think they come up with all kinds of shit to keep their money. They don't need to come up with shit to keep their money. You go, exactly.
Listening to what I'm saying is they don't have to. What I'm saying is the same way a billionaire is never satisfied with the amount of money that they have. They keep going. Like you could have just tapped out at like $50 million, but you were like, no, I need more.
Objection.
I don't think
speculative.
Speculative. And also,
when we're talking about billionaires, is it speculative?
Yes, because that's not how money works, Candice. If you're Jeff Bezos, this is what I'm saying. If you're Jeff Bezos and you run Amazon, it's not like people, you go, oh, I'm going to start telling people to stop buying Nintendo Switches because I got too much money. Like, get the fuck out of here. You just continue to accumulate money because you continue to accumulate money.
No. I think that you think Jeff Bezos isn't thinking like right now, like you didn't think Google was like, oh, I see how Zoom is making all this money now, so I'm going to create my own meeting network, which they just did.
Of
so
course.
don't fucking sit there and say that they don't think of ways to earn more money. Of course they do.
I'm not saying that you were like, whoa, they go, whoa, I got to come up. Like, you just do,
evil ones do.
Oh, about Google making its own Zoom thing. They're like, whoa, that's not a conspiracy. That's just open. It's called Google.
You sound ridiculous. I'm not saying that's a conspiracy. I'm saying that's how people who want more money make more money. They continue to come up with ways to make more money. So that's what I'm saying. The evil ones are the ones going like this.
Right. So my whole point was that because you can do all of that shit to make more money out in the open, you don't have to like.
I think you're being naive to evil people.
I
don't think you've had enough experiences with awful people to know that evil actually exists in this world.
Oh, I 100% believe evil actually exists in this world. What I don't necessarily believe is that evil and competence typically go together. I think that is generally. I don't think they generally do. I think that you can currently see. That's why I asked you. I was like, what have they done well? You've had 4 years. Every single thing has been lurching from one publicly stupid thing to another publicly stupid thing.
I agree with that.
I think people in power do whatever they can. Like what's happening now is people are doing whatever they can to make more money, and that's self-serving. And the thing that makes it seem evil is they do it without thinking of the consequences. So as a result, it might look like, oh, they're just shitting on these people, when instead they didn't even realize those people existed because they were trying to get here.
Or in general, they don't consider people that make less than money than them as people. Like there are people that exist who don't consider people outside of their bubble because they don't have to. Like they've been raised by wealth, so they have never had to consider other people's feelings at all.
Right, but I would argue that that's a different argument, actually. That's actually a different discussion separate from conspiracies. That's a policy discussion on whether or not.
Sure.
And so what I'm getting at on the conspiracy side is that it's not that all conspiracies are inherently nonsense. They really do shit. They really do shit. I think that what happens is that this is my general view is this. I think Americans have had it really good for a really long time. We think we didn't, but we've had it really good. We have not had to worry about tanks rolling down,
of course,
our streets and stuff like that. Like,
maybe the
so when
occasional crackhead running through your driveway.
Yeah, the occasional crackhead who, made some bad decisions. Everybody, somebody who hasn't heard of OnlyFans yet.
Yeah.
But that is different than, to me, part of the thing is because of that, and the part of the thing about the internet is it became this thing where now people have had it so good, they go online and they've convinced themselves that it's fucking so bad. And then they go and they look for all these things, and what ends up happening is
actually that's how I feel about white people and depression a lot of the time.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that part of the thing is people who don't recognize, I think it's inherent in the American culture to go, you're no better than me. Right? That it's like in our bones.
Yeah.
Right? Not better than me. That's like part of, we're pretty much founded on that except for the slavery part, right? So
you can just extract that from the equation.
Well, I'm just saying it's like
playing field.
No, what I'm saying is like that's kind of like the idea. It's like more than any other country, Americans have that kind of in our blood. Whoever you are, to like, fuck you, you're not better than me. But what happened is people started to take that and go from the like, you're not better than me inherently because we're all human, to you're not better than me just because you have a fucking degree and know what you're talking about. I went on the internet and did my own research, and sure, I'm not an epidemiologist, and I don't really know what any of these numbers mean or any of these graphs, but this lady told me this shit, and fuck you. And I just think that, like, ultimately, I think I think a lot of times it's fun, but I think it's ultimately pretty dangerous, and it's dangerous in the way that a lot of things are dangerous right now, and people don't recognize them as dangerous. And I think that's what freaks me out, because I don't particularly see much of a difference between like, the fucking, like all like the various conspiracies that you see that, people like, and Obama was born in Kenya and is a secret Muslim. Like, to me, that's like the same shit.
Yeah.
And what ends up happening is that dangerous people, truly evil people, that use that distrust and that like lack of a common set of facts to go and take power and use it against us. Yeah. That's how Trump like did that, was like pushing bullshit to make people not agree on a common set of facts that then he was able to manipulate. And that's why it doesn't matter what happens or how many people die or what happens to the economy, he's at 42%.
Well, I was going to say then, back to your point about what have they accomplished, I would say that's something that is deleterious that they have completely accomplished, was like now everyone's living on fake news, and you can't believe anything that you hear or see anymore.
Right.
Like, these people marching outside with no masks on. Actually, no, the people that are out there protesting with masks on, what is that about? Can we talk about that? We have a few minutes left, but like, you're out here saying you want to go back to the stores and go get your haircuts, and you think that it's some, I guess they're also conspiracy theorists and thinking that maybe they've been told one thing to keep them in their house and take away their freedoms, but at the same time, they're out there with masks on. So which one are you? Do you believe that this shit is happening, or there was actually an article I read about that somebody wrote up a thing about that, because you would think that the Venn diagram of people who want to reopen and people who want to wear masks would be a perfect thing. Circle. You would think that those would completely overlap. Yeah. Right. Because you would go, well, I'm more likely to be able to be outside doing whatever I want to do if people are wearing masks and washing their hands and doing this stuff. The whole reason we have to be inside is because people are like going and like, the ocean's glowing? Oh shit! And like go. I did go to the ocean to see it. You did? Yeah. Well, but I don't think there's a problem with that. I think that the issue is that people would go
and go without masks and things like that, and go well, I'm not sick and all that shit. And what ends up happening is, to me, you're seeing that the fallout of that kind of shit. Like, I completely agree that, you know, they were very successful in getting a certain segment of the population to buy into a whole bunch of bullshit. What's also interesting, though, is that there's a lot of polling that, like, it's not 42% of people that want to open. It's not 42%. That's like a much smaller portion. So there are people who support him who are also like,
sounds like a terrible idea.
That's why they're wearing masks out there on their protests. They're like, I think it's safe enough for the country to be open, but I'm not that sure.
What I think that concerns me, and this is where I get nerdy on like political science and all that kind of shit, is stability is actually hard. Like, actual like government and societal stability is like, it's rare and it's kind of precious. And there's a reason we've been lucky that we have not had military coups and tanks and stuff rolling down streets.
Right.
And the more and more people buy into bullshit that they want to believe, the more and more likely that shit is to happen. That's what concerns me about it. It's not that they are always telling you the truth. It's not that, like, it's more that I think that a lot of times it's people think it's fun and it's actually pretty irresponsible.
Right.
And that's me being, you know, shove me into a locker or whatever.
Right. Well, luckily, we have to wrap this up. I was just going to say, luckily, that I think the majority of conspiracy theorists or people that entertain them are like me, which is like, I'm not going to act on anything. I'll entertain it and see what parts of it that I can, you know, find that I agree with, or what's for entertainment purposes only. A good website that I found a lot of, I spend a lot of my hours on. Are you guys familiar with Crazy Days and Nights?
No.
This is entertainment, like conspiracy theories. So it's like Hollywood shit. So it's like, who's cheating on who? Who's gay? And it's like, you know,
Candice up here plugging her website.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like, I spend most of my days writing up these conspiracy theories about who's.
You can get your Struggle podcast branded foil hat at this website.
So yeah, make sure to go on my blog, Crazy Days and Nights. I want to thank you for coming. I know you guys have to get out of here. I was telling Troy that his unwillingness to accept conspiracy theories is the whitest thing about him, because Black people are normally the ones that jump on conspiracy theories. Just because I think we have a general, you know, unwillingness to believe what white people tell us ever since they brought us over here on a ship.
I guess my thing is that I know too much about what the actual shit they did to be like, oh fuck, like I know about Tuskegee and I know about like the other shit that they did. So like I don't need to like believe that like, oh, they meant to just get us and then they fucked up and killed a whole bunch of Indians. They fucked up and it's a whole bunch of French and Italian people checking out. Like I don't need to like. It's like my thing is like reality is bad enough. I don't need to make it
in my fantasy. Right.
Yeah.
All right.
And I'm not even talking about you, because I actually don't think you believe a lot of that shit. I think
I don't. I already said that. I said this is mostly for entertainment purposes for me. I entertain it, but yeah, I'm not dying on any hill for any conspiracy theory, except for the fact that OJ is Khloe Kardashian's father. I actually know who her father is. I actually know who her father is, and it's not OJ. It's a hairdresser.
They do have a similar build.
They do have a similar.
They do, but it's not. I'll send you guys pictures of the guy who actually is. It's Chris. It's one of Kris Jenner's old hairdressers who she admitted to having an affair with, and they look just alike. I'm not like I'll send you the link. All right, guys, we got to wrap this up. But thanks for coming here. Once again, if you guys have not subscribed, make sure you do that. We're on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. Rate and review us on iTunes and tell someone about the struggle if you're listening to this regularly. Now, Mal, where can everyone unfollow you?
Unfollow me on the internet at Mal Hall on everything, malhall.com. Also, Mal Hall TV on YouTube. Stay safe, everybody.
Everyone, one more time, Troy, where can people find you?
Troy Walker ESQ on Twitter and Instagram.
And hit him up. Slide into his DMs if you have a situation like I had where there's a crackhead who is a little bit too close. Just give him a call.
Or, if you just cute as hell and you want to talk to somebody non-threatening.
That was for you white women out there. Now,
No. You said that.
The non-threatening part you said was for the white people. I was making sure they understood the joke. Now,
No, it could be anybody. It could be anybody who wants to be threatened. You literally just called the police on a crackhead.
and I do that shit again. Come in my lawn again, and I do it again.
I'm sure you will, right after you have your boy take your clothes out of the dryer and fold.
My houseboy.
Yeah, your house boy. Boy!
Boy!